Hello guys, and welcome back to this very special Kyiv Cultural Changemaker special. I'm of course your host and founder of the Interpreting Wine podcast, Lawrence Francis. And while I'm based in London, travelling and uncovering great new places is really part of who I am. And one of my biggest discoveries of the last year has been the city of Kyiv, capital of Ukraine. This series of 9 interviews was recorded in October 2018 and in March 2019, and I hope captures a sense of not only what's happening in the food and drink scene, touching as it does on wine and local cuisine, but also captures a sense of where the city is heading through design, music and cultural change. And I hope that if you or anybody you know is planning to visit to the city, you'll use this series as an audio guide, both to discover fantastic places to eat and drink, and also understand some of the wider cultural context. So here we go, today's episode of the Kyiv Cultural Changemaker Special. Today's episode of the Kyiv Cultural Changemaker Special features DJ Daria Kolomiec. This interview was actually recorded in London after my return from Kyiv. And as somebody I was keen to speak with for the series, I made sure to grab Daria while she was here. During our talk, we hear her origin story. Daria talks about the music scene in Kyiv and how this changes in the wintertime. She touches on the 2014 musical revolution, talks about the wider cultural scene, and of course looks ahead for the city and herself. Enjoy!
My name is Daria Kolomiec. Now I live in Kyiv, but I was born in Cherkasy. This is the center of Ukraine, and I came to Kyiv when I was 16. So I came to study my profession and work, and I live in Kyiv all my life. So I think my native city is Kyiv. I like Kyiv so much, and not from the first view, not from the first taste. I love Kyiv for 5 years, like with truly love, because now Kyiv is much more open, is much more wide open, for music, for food, for people, for international guests. And because of that, I think Kyiv is a really interesting city. I had a big passion to come to live to Kyiv because Kyiv is capital, Kyiv is megapolis, and for me it was a really big goal. And because of that, I chose the university and the profession, and I chose journalism, and I'm a TV journalist and TV host. This is my main profession. And I came for that, and from the second course of my education, I began working as a journalist on the morning show. It called Guten Morgen. Hello to my Deutsche friends. And I was that person that, trying to, I made an interview and I prepared information for main hosts, and I did a lot like journalism job things. And after that, I became a host of teenager shows, like it was Teen Time for teenagers. It was Guten Morgen. I hosted also that. And I did a lot of morning and entertainment shows in Ukraine. Especially it was live. So I woke up at 5 o'clock and did it from 7 till 10. I was a big fan of music all my life. But in Ukraine, we had a huge Soviet Union's impact, you know what I mean, which closed us from music from all over the world. And I remember that from my childhood, because we do not have so much music like in London or all over the world. We had some Russian or Soviet music. But I was like a researcher. I was like a selector, and for me it was really interesting to open new music. And this fact has an influence on today's cultural skin. You know what I mean? But after the revolution, that we had in Ukraine. And after all these economic and political things that we have now, the music scene increase. And my way to music, my way to becoming who am I today, was like, I was a big fan of music. I traveled for music. I traveled, and I'm traveling now for concert in different countries. And I was trying to bring something interesting, to bring something new that I've heard all over the world, and to spread this in Ukraine. And I was a host, I had my morning show, but it was not so wide and open for different music, because we had this like format. And I was thinking, how could I do and how could I spread the new music? Which ways? And I was thinking about the DJing. I learned how to do it technically. I collected a lot of music on my streaming services, on my CDs, vinyls. And for me, it was so interesting because I understood that I could play everything I want, because only I am a filter of this music, and I'm so passionate about this that I became just play for my friends. I became play in some places that knows me. And for me, was really necessary to do everything that I want to do. Not compromise. You know what I mean? No compromise at all. And I'm doing it for 3 years now. And I figured out that people need it. People really need new, interesting music, new energy. They want to Shazam songs. They want to add new songs, not just top 40 hits. Yes, and I did my show. My every Monday's show on Aristocrats FM. This is online platform in Kyiv, in Ukraine, all over the world because it's online platform, with very good music, nice selection, perfect selection. And I did a morning show there, and now I'm doing on Monday my show about new music that I'm trying to open. And it's not only about new releases. It's about some new music that I can find from the past, for example. And it's really interesting because now I'm in London for music. I attended two concerts. One was the Cinematic Orchestra just yesterday, and the day before yesterday I visited my first musical ever about Motown Records. Okay. Yes, and it's fantastic. It inspires me about the quality, about the music, about the energy, and I want to come to Kyiv and on Monday on my program to tell about it.
This is obviously one of the coolest things I think about a city like London, is that you can come from abroad, and you can kind of make it your own. You can sample what is of interest to you, and there's loads on offer, and then you can kind of take that back and share it back in in your own language and with kind of your own audience and your own following. I'd be keen though to do almost the reverse now. So sitting as we are here over in London, ask you to kind of guide us through and give us a pretty high level overview of what's happening musically in Ukraine and in Kyiv.
Yeah. I'll tell you with pleasure, because Kyiv is now so cool to come to visit. Because, for example, first, it's cheaper to come to Kyiv for the festival, for the music concert. It's cheaper, even for ticket. And now I'm shocked and I'm glad that some niche artists come to Ukraine, and we have sold out. For example, the band called Cigarettes After Sex from New York, they will come the second year. And it's a niche band, it's not a super big stars. And they come back. For example, the band called Rai will have a concert in Kyiv. And I'm glad that people are open for these musicians. Like, we are ready to listen, to enjoy the music that we can't hear on the main radio station or TV or some pop charts. And we have a lot of festivals now. I can't remember it 5 or 10 years ago. No, now 3 years we have a festival called Atlas Weekend, and it will be on summer in Kyiv, and it's one of the biggest festival, and it brings a lot of artists. For example, Michael Kiwanuka. Michael Kiwanuka, I think he's British. Tom Odell, Super London. It's a your London artist, will come to Kyiv for this festival. And it's a lot of stages that are open for Ukrainian musician, for international musician. And I hope some European musicians, a lot, will come to Kyiv, will perform. Because people are ready, people want. And, we have hunger because we had this Soviet Union impact, and we want much more music. We're ready. If telling about the Ukrainian artist, I'm a big fan of Dacha. This is a band they performed in Glastonbury, for example. I think British people can know it. We have Dach Dochters. We have Onuka. We have a very interesting new Ukrainian bands that have big quality. They can perform all over the world, and I'm glad they're Ukrainian.
I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying to pronounce any of those names. However, definitely we're going to link up underneath, so the artist pages, and maybe even I'll share some of the songs that I like when I look through and share one or two of those. Given that we've now moved on and we're in this part where we're talking about the Ukrainian bands, I wonder if you just give us a sort of a stylistic view of them. Are they borrowing a lot from those international type artists? Are they creating something totally different? What sort of sounds can we expect to hear from those guys?
For me, Ukrainian music, it's all about identity. It's all about authentic. We have very interesting Ukrainian history. We have costumes. We can resync it. Like, we can resync the music, the costumes, the tradition. I remember from my great-grandmother how she sang. And it was breathtaking for me, because she was living in a village, in a small village, and she had a perfect voice. She didn't attend some music school, but it so naturally came from her. It was so my skin feel it now. What I mean, it's just when I'm listening to good Ukrainian product that resync our history, I feel something from the past, and I know how it feels. Because of that, for me, the band called Dacha, it's about this. Because they take something new, they take something from the past. And I feel this true Ukrainian spirit in this. It's not about the copy, someone cool, nice, wow, like jazz musician or British musicians. They do it by themselves. How do they feel it? And I think the success of every artist, either he or she paint or creative, it comes from truly yours. And because of that musician that I was mentioned is about that.
I think it's really interesting that even from the very first interview I did, really, which with Olia Hercules, episode 97, which was about the food and the drink, and she has written several books, and she was keen to talk about the influences from Uzbekistan and the influences from Georgia, and I took from that it was a cuisine really that did borrow elements, but from those elements made something uniquely their own. And that's really the kind of parallel that I'm making between what you're saying and what she said then. I'm loving that you're talking about specific festivals and specific bands, and this gives people, and this will give me the opportunity to look these artists up afterwards. The thing that immediately did come to mind, though, is during the winter when it's a lot colder in Ukraine. What's going on with the indoors music scene in a sense? Are people still getting out there enjoying live music and making the effort of getting out there even when it's like minus 20 or something?
Yeah, we have a very hot tea, not only in London. Yes, and we have a lot of venues. We have some venues, parties, and we even have festival on outside. For example, we have a celebration, Maslenitsa. It's when you do pancakes, Ukrainian pancakes. It's like not that small, but it's mlynsi. We call it in Ukraine mlynsi. And we have 1 week about this mlynsi pancakes. And we have some festival, some party on our VDNH location. Imagine you are in this city. It's a big location with a lot of food. It's like street food, but it's specific Ukrainian street food, it could be, and with different things, with music. So we have, for example, 3 days festival, and it's a celebration. Everybody have the warm hat, warm clothes, yes, and we are having fun. Yes, Ukrainians really like to have fun.
Sure. So you've spoken about really, I guess, what I understand, Ukrainian people moving past and carrying on from that Soviet history. I understand there was also quite a big change that happened around 2014 and, what we know as the revolution. So maybe, take us through what's happened after that in that same sort of musical context that you've been talking about.
After this revolution, we had a quarter, which means at least 70% of music has to be Ukrainian. We had a big discussion about this. Good it or bad it? I think this is good because we become to identify ourselves. Like we have what to say, how to say in our Ukrainian way. And the artist become to think in this way. How to write Ukrainian language, how to re-understand, how to create it. And now, because of that, there are a lot of Ukrainian interesting band artists. And I think it was because of that, too. Not only, but too. This is the first point. The second point, now we have biometric passport, you know what I mean? Because before that, we had visa in every European country. For London and Britain, we do need. But for European Union, we have biometric passport now, and it opens borders for us. Now we can travel for music. We can travel not for a week, months, half a year. We can travel just for 2 days, for the concert, for good food, for good music, for inspiration. And I think it gives us that energy to create. It gives us more wide thinking about what happened all over the world. Not only what we can see on the radio, on the TV, from the Russian singers, Russian artists, because Ukrainian are more European thinkers. Music is different. Yes, and I'm happy that people do need it, that people desire it. And I feel it in my sets, my DJ sets. What I mean is just before that, I was thinking, someone couldn't understand what I'm trying to say in my way of selection, in my way of mixing. And now I'm super happy to see that they maybe not just understand till then, but they are open. We are more open, more tolerant, more happy to see, to open. It's music, it's food, it's people. And I think it happened because of the revolution, especially too.
And yeah, I mean, having seen and heard about that same trend happening on the food side of things, so what I do is really just invite you to, I guess, put your DJing in a slightly wider cultural context in Kyiv. You know, who are the people who are coming along? Who are the other artists from other areas that you're interacting with and sharing ideas with?
I'm in love what has happened and how Kyiv creates new minds, and how Kyiv do a lot of things, like, for example, Hotel Bursa, that you know. I had my set on New Year's Eve in Bursa, and I was wow, because people are so stylish, people are open, the food is interesting, it's simple, but it's interesting. And it was so European for me. It was not like Kyiv 10 years ago. I know what I'm talking about because I remember the time when I just came to Kyiv. Yes. For example, we have a lot of bars now that made lunch time and lunch sets. I love to play in the morning or during the brunch. And now we have this. I can took my vinyls and come to Бездельники bar, for example, on Saksaganskого Street, and to play my music during you drink your Prosecco, for example, your Sunday Prosecco. Yes, I love that, for example, in Lviv, we have Leopolis Jazz Festival. Maybe you've heard about this. And during this festival, the Aristocrats Radio made some parties. And I played in one of them previous summer. And was this good community, jazz musicians from all over the world, these parties, good people, nice food, because Lviv is one of my favorite places to eat. And I like to collaborate like this. And what I can tell about Kyiv, I'm proud that I'm living in Kyiv now. Now, this is a good time to open something for some business, for example. I invite London Minds to come to Kyiv because we are open, much more open than we were before.
Really, I'd just like to say thank you, because it's been, super late notice, and it's just super the power of Instagram and seeing where people are. I just really like to close with an invitation again, just for you to look ahead, and what have you got coming up? What are you looking ahead to this year? Wide open question.
Lawrence, first of all, I'm happy that you found me on the Instagram. It's nice to meet you. I really enjoy this talk, and I want to invite everybody to Kyiv, especially on summer, because we have a good weather. We have really beautiful people. We have a super nice and much cheaper food, wine, and we had a lot of festival. For example, Atlas Weekend in Kyiv, Leopolis Jazz Festival in Lviv, and every day you have a good music from me, for example. So come, dance with me, meet people, and you will like Kyiv. Yes, I know it for sure. Now I'm working on creative music. Now I'm learning how to produce music. So for me, it would be interesting not just make a selection and mixing music, but to produce something new from myself. And I hope maybe half a year I will perform my own music. So it needs time, it needs energy, and I'm working on that now. And for me, it's really, really interesting. And maybe one day I will play in London, because I want to feel how the energy works here, how people open for music, how do they gives you energy, how do they dance, how do they speak, and for me it's really interesting to feel it. So maybe one day you will come to my set in London, but before that, to Kyiv, come and dance.
Thank you so much, Daria. I really feel like the stars all aligned that enabled us to catch up in London, and I think it's a super fitting way to end this series. Please do check out Daria's website and Instagram handles, which I've included below. If you'd like to catch up on any of the episodes of the Kyiv Cultural Changemaker series, you can find these on the Interpreting Wine podcast between episodes 309 and 317 inclusive. Or hop over to interpretingwine.com/Kyiv, where you'll find all the episodes grouped in a playlist. It's only left me to say a huge thank you to all of my guests, my translators, and everybody that helped me along the way. As I'm sure you can tell, I absolutely love the experience of putting this series together, and genuinely could not recommend Kyiv more highly as a destination. If you or anyone else you know is going there, then I highly recommend listening to the series. And do please spread the word so that it reaches more people. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.